Bo Nix. Is Bo Nix a first-round pick? Penix, Bo Nix. Penix, Bo Nix. Penix, Bo Nix. Penix, Bo Nix.
There's only one way to find out.
In my last video profiling J.J. McCarthy, I called the Michigan quarterback a man of great intrigue and mystery. The quarterback I'm talking about today has left nothing up to speculation. His first college football game was against a quarterback who's headed into his 5th NFL season. He's played for 2 different schools in the 2 most opposite regions of our great country, and he's completely reinvented himself, going from a disappointment as a top recruit to a potential first-round pick in this upcoming draft. I say potential, but we all know the Denver Broncos are taking him at pick 12. This is Bo Nix, the most experienced quarterback to ever enter the NFL draft at the ripe age of 58 years old. I'm kidding, he's only 24. He may not be the sexiest choice, but today I want you to learn who Bo Nix is and why he might be the safest QB in this draft. We're going balls deep into the hall monitor of quarterback prospects, because he's so safe. Bo Nix. Spring has sprung, and my springs and my bare mattress have sprung me into a perfect night's sleep for 9 months now. I actually don't know if springs are supposed to sprung in mattresses, but today's episode is brought to you by bearmattress.com/thatsgood to get 40% off your Bear mattress for a limited time. As a side sleeper, I actually ordered the Elite Hybrid, which is a combo inner spring memory foam and pillow top mattress. The cooling technology and 5-zone support coil system pulls heat away from my body and ensures I have the support my sensual body needs. Bear offers a sleep quiz that you can take on their website to help you determine the style of mattress that is best for you. If you're not sleeping well, I suggest taking it to identify if your mattress is the issue. Sadly, if your sleeping problem is a 3-year-old walking into your room every night at 2:30 a.m., Bear is legally not allowed to help you. A mattress is a big purchase, so use my massive discount to save yourself the most money. Bear comes with a lifetime warranty and a 120-night sleep trial to make sure you love your mattress. A mattress is one of those things you need to test to see if you like it, and Bear offers you that opportunity. The mattress is shipped to your door, and all Bear mattresses are fiberglass free and Green Guard certified, meaning it's not made with any BS materials. So take advantage of my huge discount running for a limited time with my link bearmattress.com/thatsgood to get 40% off. Bear is having a site-wide sale in March, but my link is a better discount than they are even offering there. Bo Nix played for his father, Patrick, at Pinson Valley in Alabama, where he ascended to the top of the 2019 recruiting class. Nix was named Mr. Football in Alabama in 2018, a title he earned by accounting for 161 touchdowns over his high school career. Being called Mr. Football in Alabama is like being called Mr. Handsome in Hollywood or Mr. Scary in prison. It's a real accomplishment. And Mr. Football received offers from Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee, LSU, and Florida. So, nowhere too impressive. Instead, he went to Auburn, where his father played quarterback in the early 90s and became the hero of the 1993 Iron Bowl against Alabama, a game in which Patrick Nix was inserted after an injury to starter Stan White, who went down in the 3rd quarter. Patrick's first play was a 4th and 15 conversion. Pat tossed a touchdown on that play to Frank Sanders and did it a year later to beat Florida in the final seconds.
Nix to Sanders, can you believe it?
It's Nix to Sanders, Nix to Sanders.
Well, I'm not a crook.
You're kidding.
Patrick Nix was also the son of an Alabama high school football coach. So football is ingrained in the Nix DNA. And just 26 years later, Bo was a Tiger. and he was named the starter week 1, a true freshman, and his first snaps were against future Pro Bowler Justin Herbert and the Oregon Ducks. And much like Justin Fields and Russell Wilson in their current Gemini Man situation,
our DNA is identical.
Nix was playing against his future self as the starter for Oregon. Now, Nix only completed 13 of his 31 passes in that first game, but Auburn emerged victorious, a 27-21 win at Jerry World in Arlington, Texas. Fitting, considering Justin Herbert would go into the NFL and continue to lose to inferior quarterbacks as his team let him down. Auburn won 9 games in 2019, but Nix's numbers were less than spectacular. Despite winning SEC Freshman of the Year, he tossed just 16 touchdowns through the air and had a sub-58 completion rate. And to be honest, it never really got better for him at Auburn. Across 34 starts with the Tigers, Nix won 21 games and threw just 39 TD passes. He was hard to watch for the first 3 years of his career, just like me here on YouTube. A stud prospect that never found his rhythm, and it wasn't easy on Nix personally either. He simply never meshed with head coach Brian Harsin, who had a "it's my way or the highway" approach to coaching. And for Nix, it was the highway, but not before he told everyone exactly how he felt on his way out of town. "I was just kind of over it," Nix told Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports. "Each week it was something else. There was, quite frankly, nothing I could do about it. I just remember kind of being miserable. It wasn't fun anymore." Classic football head coach. Making football something that's supposed to be fun absolute hell for everyone.
You think football is still fun?
Yes.
Sir.
Yes, no.
Now, Nix was already 3 years into his college career, but the COVID year in 2020 gave him an extra season of eligibility, and he was headed to the Pacific Northwest to try and find reclamation in Eugene, Oregon with the same Ducks he had defeated in his college debut. He may not have fit with Brian Harsin at Auburn, but with Oregon's head coach Dan Lanning, there was a perfect match starting in 2022. You could say Bo finally found his bow. Nix seized the opportunity for a fresh start and underwent a remarkable transformation as quarterback in 2022, despite his prior 3 seasons at Auburn yielding middling results with a 69.7% adjusted completion rate, ranking him 108th among FBS quarterbacks according to Pro Football Focus. In his first season with the Ducks, Nix had an 82.3 adjusted completion rate, topping the Power 5, second among all college football QBs. And if you're into, normal stats, he won 10 games, threw 29 touchdowns and just 7 picks. Oh, and not to mention, he rushed for 14 scores as well. Now you might be wondering, how does a guy who was mostly allergic to the red zone at Auburn suddenly turn into one of the most efficient quarterbacks in college football? Was there better talent up north? Were Pac-12 defenses no more than turnstiles? Was he on steroids, Viagra, prime energy? Were his testicles the size of grapes? And were his hormones raging? Not quite. I think the answer is threefold. He was certainly facing easier defenses on the West Coast, but he was also a year older and more seasoned, happier in his new environment, and of course, the answer that everyone jumps to, Oregon had a very QB-friendly scheme. I think understanding how important fit is for a quarterback is key, especially as we prepare to see a handful of quarterbacks thrust into the NFL. Russell Wilson was not a fit for Sean Payton, and Russ was an 11-year NFL vet.
What I talk with Russell about is none of your business.
When he was paired with Sean in Denver, the Broncos didn't trade pennies for Justin Fields for the same reason. Sean Payton runs a West Coast offense. Convenient, Nix just played on the West Coast. And you have to have played on the West Coast to actually be able to run it. Well, Russ played, never mind. Drew Brees broke down what that meant really well here. In the last episode about Fields and Wilson, I played Breeze talking about Russ with Peyton.
As I watched them play this year, it didn't feel like the timing, the rhythm, the tempo that I'm used to seeing in a Sean Payton offense. And I know those are the hallmarks of the offense. That's the standard that has been set.
This is him gushing about Brock Purdy running the West Coast offense.
Purdy impressed me with his athleticism, but like the shorter quarterbacks, like timing and rhythm. Yeah. And this West Coast offense, right? Timing, rhythm, progression. First hitch here, second hitch, know where the ball can go, don't take the sack.
Right.
A pass game extension of the run game, like all that stuff. Look, he executes that extremely well.
Yeah.
I think Nix can do that at the pro level. Nix, with Oregon, ran a lot of quick, high percentage passes to a talented group of skill position players that made his life a lot easier than it was down south.
You shouldn't really have to ad-lib a whole lot. You know, offensive coordinators, they don't create plays and, you know, they don't put you in schemes to ad-lib and to move around if you play on time and know where you're going with the ball. But at times, the defense does a good job. They're you know, paid a lot of money, too, to stop you from doing that. So at times, you do need to ad-lib, and I feel like I can ad-lib.
But Nix hit the ground running and orchestrated that offense with precision. But it was nothing compared to what he was about to show in 2023 at the ripe age of 58. The only chain this young QB was rocking around his neck was the life alert. Now, the Heisman hype was real. There were billboards in Oregon and New York that read Bodacious, and his play that season would land him in New York City. 45 touchdowns, 4,500 yards, 6 touchdowns on the ground, and just 3 picks. Bo Nix, more like Bo No Picks. The most astonishing number, however, was his absurd completion rate of 77.4, a mark that broke Mac Jones' previous college football record. However, Nix still has a long way to go to catch McCorkle Jones' record of kicking dudes square in the dick. And I'm not saying Bo Nix is Drew Brees, but what was Drew Brees known for? High completion percentage. Most importantly, Oregon won 12 games. They would have had a shot at the college football playoff, but the Ducks lost to Michael Penix Jr. and the Washington Huskies on 2 occasions. Both times by just 3 points. Still, Nix became a Heisman candidate alongside Penix. He was the final Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year. He had upped his completion percentage by nearly 20 since his freshman year back in 1957, where he narrowly escaped having polio. And he was a bona fide, maybe a first-round pick? Maybe? Let's talk about that. Why is a quarterback who is so efficient, so quick with his passes and reads, considered the 5th, maybe 6th best quarterback in this draft? How the hell does a guy like J.J. McCarthy, born a decade after NSYNC was popular, who threw 7 passes in all of college, jump Nix on every draft board across America? Well, Lance Zierlein of NFL.com compared Nix to Tony Romo, saying he displays accuracy, arm talent, and athleticism consistent with today's brand of pro quarterback. He can be punctual in getting the ball out at the top of his drop, or he can work through progressions and beat defenses with second reaction plays. He throws with good velocity and puts the ball on the money when throwing on the move. That's a long-winded way of saying Bo Nix does everything pretty well. Now, this play against Washington is a great example of that last thought, the velocity and accuracy on the move. And here's what Robbie Davis wrote on letstalkbroncos.com. Oh, go check out my friends over at letstalkbroncos.com. They just launched the website and they could use your support, Broncos fans. Bo Nix's experience and pedigree make him a safe pick at one of the most volatile positions in all sports. Although he is the oldest prospect at the position, projected to go within the first 2 rounds, that doesn't mean there isn't more room to grow, and it also doesn't necessarily mean there is less of a chance for him to grow in those areas. Nix's mobility isn't really talked about as much as his processing or timing because he's wider than America's past. But he really can scoot. I like this play against Colorado where he doesn't just show speed on a quarterback draw, but also the ability to change direction in the open field. Daniel Jeremiah compared him to Jalen Hurts, and I think there's something to that. See, guys, you can do cross-racial comparisons. You can. Naturally, there are a few things keeping Nix out of the top 3 QB discussions right now. besides, his age. For one, almost 30% of his passes were thrown behind the line of scrimmage in 2023 per Pro Football Focus. When I said that Oregon made his life a lot easier, I was not lying. He also has a tendency to short arm throws against the blitz. He has a penchant for overthrowing his receivers, and his decision making isn't quite as sound when he's on the run as opposed to when he's in the pocket. But honestly, that last one might be a strength. Now, none of that is tremendously glaring or liable to keep him off someone's draft board. And those issues I just mentioned can improve with experience, NFL experience, and within the right system. What's harder to quantify or doesn't exactly show up on tape is that Bo Nix clearly loves football. He's the type of guy to sleep with the football in his bed, caress the football as he slumbers, perhaps even tongue the laces of that football in the dark of the night. As the pitter-patter of cold Oregon rain dots the ground outside his bedroom, curtains swaying back and forth in the gentle wind. Oh, Bo Nix, I do imagine you sleeping sometimes. The only other quarterback I remember loving football that much was Tim Tebow. Also would sleep with his football. But of course, Tebow would do vile things with that football so he could pretend to be a virgin. If you fornicate with the football, you're not a virgin in my eyes, Tebow.
You don't know. You have no idea.
Anyway, Nix's love for ball, that's evidenced by the fact that he took part in the 2024 Senior Bowl despite logging a college football record 61 starts over his 5 years at Auburn and Oregon. He has the most tape of anyone that's ever entered the draft, and he still went down to Mobile to try and do more. Not everyone loved how he performed that week, but I think it means a lot that he went out there and tried to show what he could do outside the Ducks offense. When so many other QBs passed on the opportunity to throw at the combine, Nix passed. He passed the football, he did. The guy just loves playing football, and he's shown it this offseason especially. One of the misconceptions about Nix is that he doesn't have a great arm. And it's easy to see why people might think that. He made a lot of short underneath throws the last 2 years at Oregon. But at the combine, in Indy, and at his pro day at Oregon, he put those concerns to bed. He's not John Elway.
You know what? That's too bad.
But he's capable of every throw that he'll be asked to perform at the next level. And while you certainly prefer a quarterback to be younger to maximize his development, his age isn't a deal breaker. At least it isn't to me. I am also very quarterback desperate, like extremely desperate. So yeah, I'm fine saying no to a college co-ed, and I'm ready to get into a relationship with a quilf. If he was 24 and still struggling like he was at Auburn, it would be kind of sad, sure, but with his age has come improvement. That's what's important. And maybe quarterbacks with more reps under their belt will transition to the NFL with less issue. And if he turns out to be a franchise quarterback, the fact that he'll be in his late 20s by the time he gets a second contract is a first world problem. Look at me. I want just one good QB, just one. It's obvious why he's being linked to the Broncos. Unlike Russell Wilson, Nix thrives as a punctual passer, operating as the point guard to an offense that Sean Payton found so much success with, coaching Drew Brees down in New Orleans. It also makes sense that Denver, who doesn't pick until 12th overall and doesn't have a stockpile to move up, could set their sights on Nix at 12. In fact, it would make a lot of sense for Denver to also move back in the first round, collect some extra picks to help address the many holes in their roster, and still draft Nix in the latter half of the first round. Now, Pro Football Focus has the Broncos moving all the way back to 22 and taking the Oregon QB there. Denver's not the only team in the market for a quarterback this April, though. Atlanta has taken themselves off the board. The Vikings appear primed to move up, but the Raiders are sitting at pick 13, one spot behind Denver, and have no QB of the future on their roster. If you really like Nix Is it worth risking exposing him to an AFC West rival? Or is it best to simply pull the trigger where you know you can get him? And don't forget, the Raiders GM is former Chargers GM Tom Telesco, who was running the Chargers when they drafted Justin Herbert out of Oregon. So if you don't think those fucking Raiders got their eyes on him, they do. In this draft, it is probably best for the Broncos to not take their chances when Jarrett Stidham and Ben DiNucci are the only two quarterbacks currently on the roster. If Denver and Las Vegas go in another direction, I think it would actually make a lot of sense for teams like the Seattle Seahawks or the Los Angeles Rams to take Bo Nix, knowing their current quarterbacks are even older than him. So if you're the Broncos, don't risk losing Nix. If it sounds like a good slogan, don't think, just do it. Nike, Oregon, Nix, it all makes sense. For whoever takes Nix, it's not going to feel like an inspired pick. At least it won't for the fans. He's not going to move the needle, but he does look to me like one of the safer picks of all of these quarterbacks. It's not going to be a massive investment, and as much as you can say this for the crapshoot that is the draft, you know what you're getting with Bo Nix. And that might just be enough. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please check out the JJ McCarthy episode or the Spencer Rattler episode if you want to learn more about the not top 3 QBs heading into this NFL draft. Subscribe. 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 Subscribe.